Let's look at this next one. Restrict the domain of the function f of x equals the square root of x minus 4 and then find the inverse. Well, what is the domain of this function? Remember those questions we had to ask ourselves? Is there a variable under a square root? And is there a variable in the denominator? There is a variable under the square root, which means the whole stuff under the radical has to be greater than or equal to 0. Remember, it can't be negative because we need to graph it, and we can't graph an imaginary number. So let's add 4 to both sides. We get x must be greater than or equal to 4. This is our domain. It goes from 4 to infinity. Okay, we have restricted the domain to this part. By the way, this square root of x minus 4, when you graph it, it looks like this. Remember, it's your square root function shifted to the right 4 units. Okay, that is our square root of x minus 4, or the original function. So let's find our inverse. Switch x and y. To get rid of a square root, we have to square both sides. So we end up with x squared equals y minus 4. We need to add 4 to both sides. So we get x squared plus 4 equals y, which looks like our inverse. However, if you were to graph this, you get a parabola. You actually get a parabola that shifted up 4 units. So it would look like that right there. So we need to state how we restricted this. So go back, look at the domain, figure out what the range was. What was the range of this one? The range goes from 4 to infinity, right? Sorry. The range goes from 0 to infinity. We start at 0 and go forever up. So the range is 0 to infinity. So you switch those when you go to your inverse function. The domain of your inverse is the range of the original. So you have to restrict this to x must be greater than or equal to 0. That comes from here, by the way. And if you look at the picture, you can see that our x's start at 0 and go forever to the right. And if you want to go even farther, you can say that the domain of the original becomes the range of the inverse. Well, what is the range of this guy? Starts at 4, goes forever up. That's your domain of the original. Okay, this is all we were asked to do though.